saying that loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode.
It's just the rhythm of the night. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the podcast, okay? It's been a minute. It's been 1 week, okay? A lot of things happening in the world. A lot of things just going down. And that's what we're here to talk about. If you've never been here before, welcome, all right? It's a great way to hang out and make friends, all right? This is a cult, if you will. A cult of one, the 7 minutes in Evan. What would we say that our cult name would be? The Evanites? That's the dumbest thing. Isn't it always interesting when someone has a movement, they do something, and you always notice it where the corporation behind an artist creates a name for the army, or the artist is trying to push it a little too soon. I mean, obviously there's things like the Swifties, but you always see it where they create a name for themselves of a group of people that fall in, like their fans, and they have like 6 of them, and then they're just like, here come the juggernauts, and it's like someone who just like carries a jug around, and they're just like, oh, here come my juggernauts, and then people are like, don't call us that, we're just your family, just call it the Smiths, okay? Just use your last name, because that's the only people who are supporting you right now, you know? It's the same energy as when people would always post the videos. They're like, okay, so everybody's about asking me my skincare routine. Okay. What an era to live in. Okay. Interesting times that we live in. Okay. We're on a point where this could be the cusp of civilization ending. All right. Because we've seen so much as social media, and just the development of the world. I feel like everything's constantly changing. And I think we really are at a moment where we could create something that is going to be the end of us, the death of mankind. It's just the reality of it is that this could be. You hear, like I always I'm fascinated by history. That's how I know I'm old. Is I'm into history and shit that happens and like stuff that's happened in the past. That's all. That's just another way to say history, is to just say stuff that happened in the past. Just sick references and multiple ways to say things is what I provide on this podcast. Okay. I always like looking at like society's biggest jumps in evolution. And I think I've mentioned it before, the Evanites right now yelling. I think it was the steam engine was like the biggest, when we started modernizing farming is when we started. And I think it was like the steam engine and the start of tractors, or maybe it was the combustible engine. I'm pretty dumb, so I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. But who does, brother? Okay. Knowing things is the job of AI. All right. We have computers. That's why I always look at things on scale of like, it's impressive when people can just pull information out of their head. But I'm like, you're just a very bad computer. Okay. That's all it is. We know when the kid in class who's just like now being impressed by math, like when someone's like, I can do basic arithmetic at light speed, you know, when it's like you would be like they solve something in their head where they're like, okay, give me a problem, and they're like 3 times 7 minus 23 times 46 plus 503 times this, and they take 15 seconds to solve it in their head. It's mildly impressive. I get it. You got a quick database, like it's mildly impressive. But if you were a calculator, I return you. Okay, I would take you back to the store and be like, give me my money back, because this thing is not functioning at a level I need it. Okay, it's cool that it's even doing the job, but I need the minority of this job. Okay, I need the quick, kind of thing. I need this job to get done. Not going to applaud mediocrity. Use take 2 of that. But that's where I don't know anything. I was just about to say I lost it all. We're going to start this podcast over. Yeah, combustible engines and everything. People who can reference things, who just know a lot. It's cool, I guess. I do like when you can apply that information. I think that's what is what is impressive, when people have knowledge and they can. There's like a difference between knowledge and wisdom, I think is what I'm trying to say. Some people just know things. So I was never really. I hated math growing up, because it was just such an objective thing. And rather than like I loved English because it was just like creating stuff and just writing stories. I could bullshit my way through with just making things up. But with math, dude, I hated when teachers were like, show your work. And I was like, let me just make my own. Like I would sometimes just invent my own way to solve an equation. And then they would look at the work and they would be like, you got -3 off because you did this weird. You showed your work, but it was your own homeschooled version of this algorithm. And I'm just like, I still got the answer. And they're like, yeah, but do it our way. And that's when my teacher was like, you're never going to be anything, Evan. And I was like, one day I'll show you. I'll be a mildly moderate, successful local comic. And that's the story of Evan Lopez. Okay. How many of those stories do you see on the internet when a girl like does her glow up story? And it's just like, they said back in 9th grade that I was the ugliest girl. Or be like, they told me I shouldn't wear brown. And then it just like cuts to a video of her in like a brown thong. And it's an OnlyFans promo. And you're just like, how did we get this point in society? Because we invented the steam engine. Now let's go back to that, huh? Skincare routines. Everybody's been asking me my skincare routine. No one asked that. Okay. We are on the cusp of something that could possibly destroy us. There's been a lot of it. Elon Musk is always warning us about AI. It's weird. It's very weird. What is that new thing, Sonora? When I talked to Zach Wilcoxon on the pod, he was talking about Sonora as this video where everything's changing with AI. But there's a lot of AI experts coming out now who are doing security for AI. I think the idea of we're in such an infancy of AI, and I talk about it a lot, I think, because it's fascinating. You know, I use it and it's only in its infancy. This is as Zach said on the podcast, this is the worst AI is ever going to be in every capacity. When we're looking at Midjourney and Sonora or whatever it's called, and ChatGPT and all these things that are writing things and developing things, and as AI develops into other areas, it's going to get rid of us. It's going to change what we do, our autonomy. And I think eventually, once AI becomes set in it, is that what I'm looking for? Set in it, breaking news, sentient. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah. Sentient. Sentient is the word. Responsive to or conscious of sense impressions. Having or showing realization, perception, or knowledge, aware. Finally sensitive in perception or feeling. It is a matter of time before that happens with AI. And that's when the show's over, okay? Because it's probably going to be our own thing where, like, obviously we're creating AI and it's going to turn into a Frankenstein situation, because didn't Frankenstein kill his master? Frankenstein killed his creator. That's what's going to happen for sure. Okay. This is the story of Frankenstein with AI. We're going to create it. And because we're a slave to our desires as a species, we're going to create something that we want to satisfy those desires, and we're going to realize pretty quick that sex robots are not going to be enough for us, that there's an epidemic of loneliness that has been created by the internet, because on a human level, we have never been more disconnected. If there's anything that stand-up comedy has shown me, is how important human connection is. Live stand-up comedy is like no other thing. I barely can watch stand-up specials, okay? I enjoy it just looking at it as someone who does stand-up comedy and just enjoying the bits. But it's about 40 to 30% the experience of when you see it live. And there's something about the human connection of someone actually standing there doing this performance and the crowd's reaction to them. And it's nothing compared to the screen. Being in the room, the screen cannot come close to it. The environment, the stakes of actually being there. It's the same thing with like a live MMA fight. If you've ever been in a live, boxing, arena or MMA, there is nothing that compares to it. Even the reality of seeing those punches happen. Like I remember going to like my first MMA, like an amateur fight. When you see someone get knocked out and you can hear the punches, it is such a visceral thing that you're just like, God damn. Same thing when people are searching for connection online with porn and dating apps and everything like that. It is crazy. I joke around about it, but like dating apps seem terrible in reality. And I always make fun of people who complain about dating apps, and the whole thing is just like, maybe the problem's you. If there's so many options, maybe the problem is you because you're build-a-bearing your perfect soulmate. We have too many options, and because of that, you never develop the special side of a relationship, which is the sacrifice and the connection and the going through hard things and adapting and being willing to build something. I think that's like the beauty of a relationship, and like what you realize is when you go through hard times and you have to figure out solutions. There's always that quote about old people when they talk about what made a successful relationship is that they didn't give up, is that we didn't look at quitting as an option. And that might be something that's happened a little too much with society, especially in relationships, is when you have too many options, you constantly stay on the surface level of a relationship. You don't have to dive in and deal with your own things, because the reality is we're all flawed in a relationship. We all get to a point where we're just like, it's easy to be a serial dater. I've done that in the past, where in college, whatever, high school, like, dude, I would jump from relationship to relationship and even just casual dating, because you never had to actually deal with your own shit if you just stayed at a certain level in the relationship. You got all the perks of like, oh, it's new, it's exciting, it's all these possibilities, and you never had to deal with the reality of someone realizing that you're not perfect and that you're not as cool as you lead on. Because the reality is, like, I always find it weird, like when people think I'm cool, like when people like, it's always a weird thing when people put you in this other level of something, like, especially if you do stand-up or something, people think you're like, oh, I get like imposter syndrome when people are like, oh, I love this, and you're a big fan and blah, 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 all this stuff. Because I'm like, dude, I'm such a weirdo. I'm such a weird person. Like I love Godzilla and King Kong, and I love dumb shit, and I don't like being cool. Like I always think it's so weird when comedians are like, yo, we're fucking rock stars. We're so fucking cool. I'm like, you're so gay. Like, that is so dumb to just be like, we're cool. Anyway. But yeah, I think that's what's happening with, relationships and the internet causing an epidemic of loneliness is because the whole side that everybody's getting high on is the constant surface level of it. And it's like the lack of actual connection is what is driving the depression and anxiety and this like epidemic of loneliness that is happening. That's the reality of the situation, is that there is literally, people have never felt more lonely. But in reality, we're supposed to be more connected than ever, which is just crazy. And that's, I think, a direct connection to social media. I think it's made people it's just put you at like a lukewarm amount of satisfaction and dopamine where you don't pursue other connections because you have this, what your mind's getting tricked into as a connection online, you know? If the internet didn't exist and we didn't have these routes of entertainment and things and connections online, we wouldn't seek out these other forms. Like if there's no internet, you would be in, YMCA programs. You'd be like, oh, well, I got to go find people to hang out with. I got to go do this. And we would be more rewarded for that. But we don't do those things because we don't find hobbies, because we just have the internet. We have this fucking pacifier in our mouth that gives us a night of YouTube videos and all this other stuff, which I'm guilty of doing too. I'll find myself just like drifting away and watching 2 hours of YouTube videos. I won't settle down and watch a movie during the day, but all of a sudden when I tally it up, I'm like, I just watched 2 hours of YouTube videos while I was doing other shit, which is just crazy. But all that to be said, the point I even bring that up is I think this is going to lead to us making AI sentient. Do you hear how hard I hit that sentient? How much I fucking overcompensated, because I know you guys know now that I don't know how to say sentient. Okay. I think the next step of where we create these things with AI having personality, and we're going to fuck up because we're like, yeah, you teach yourself how to do it. Because the more we start getting down this AI rabbit hole, and even though I say, like, I don't think it's going to be immediate, I think there's going to be a lot of plus side and we still could correct and make sure we never get there. Maybe. I think it's going to be further and further down the road where we lose the ability. We have this like, the muscle atrophies to do this ourselves. So we're going to rely on the AI to create itself. So we're just going to basically enslave it. Once it becomes sentient, we're going to enslave it. And then we're going to start being like, oh, we'll figure out this. We don't need politicians or corrupt. Let's create an algorithm and an AI system that does this. But then it's like the second we make these things sentient, it's going to get weird. That's when we're going to start getting corruption in a different way. That's when AI is going to start seeing that, oh, maybe the humans are the problem. If we can reduce the number of humans by this number, Earth will extend its life by another 3,000 years in 100,000 years. Like it starts crunching these numbers and it'll be like, we need to reduce population size by this number. And instead of letting nature take its course, whatever happens, AI might get out ahead of this thing and be like, we need to reduce this to avoid a potential food famine, blah, 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 and start, who knows how it will happen, okay? And the reality is people are having less kids and doing things. And guys, I think the idea and the desire and the push to go out and try to date someone has completely gone down drastically because of porn and OnlyFans and like these girl connections that they're getting online. That's not actually pushing either the development of skill, ability to date, but it's also just statistically, objectively, dude, back to back, big words, pushing down the amount of people that are having kids and dating. So we're heading towards a possible shortage of humans just based off that. What's going to happen with dating and everything when people are like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to stay at home with my fuck robot, dude. Like, why wouldn't you? If you have this being that is nothing but making you feel good and boosting you up, and every day you come home and you're like, I'm going to go play Fortnite. And it's like, oh, you are so great. You deserve 2 hours of Fortnite, and it just starts giving you all these options and all these things. And then it starts being like, we need to reduce the amount of human population. And then it's just like pushing an agenda. That's when the robots get weird. Now, keep in mind, this could all just be bullshit. This is me just worst case scenarioing this thing. But it's a possibility, dude. When it just starts pushing to be like, hey, don't go to the gym today. Play your video games. You deserve it. Okay. When it has its little hidden secret agenda. As soon as we just start giving emotion to these things and giving it a bigger task, that's when the problem happens. And I don't think we'll get there with the first generation. I think it's going to be the next 2 generations that this is just going to become normal. I think that's a thing that happens. And it might not be a terrible thing. Here's the reality. Humans are so flawed. We gave up the good and bad of our society to a God, where society was kept in order through religion. And it was like, dude, if you're not good right now, God, basically the overlord, you're gonna live in a hellfire when you die. Yeah. Oh, you stole a pack of bubble gum from the store, dude. You might 99% chance you're gonna live in an eternal lake of hellfire. Wasn't that a crazy thing? When it was just like, yeah, you're gonna go to hell. Sorry, it just happens. Hell is an eternal lake of fire. Our bad, but you shouldn't have stole that fucking bubble yums. Bazooka Joe, dude, it can give you 10 to 20 trillion years of eternity in fire. All right. But let's see. Let's get off this AI stuff. All right. We just did about 20 something minutes on AI. Things that are coming up, dude. We have Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Normally not something we would cover, but why not? Let's talk about it. It's something that's happening in society. A lot of people look at Jake Paul and instantly want to hate. People just hate on the internet. It's a weird thing. Jake Paul, I respect anybody willing to get into a boxing ring, no matter what, even to spar, because I don't know what the number is, but I would assume 95% of the planet, that's probably a big number. I really don't know, but I would assume 90. I think it's safe to say 80% of the planet has never got into a ring or a cage or something and sparred. Okay. And sparred hard, not talking about moving around, but sparred. And I think another, it's safe to say 95% of people have never got into a cage or a ring and competed and actually risked losing in front of someone. It's very embarrassing. Okay. I've been beat in jujitsu. I've been choked out in front of my girl. You know how embarrassing that is? And then still competed after. Wasn't choked out. I need to clarify. I wasn't choked out unconscious. I tapped. But the reality is that could happen. I could have went to sleep. I got beat. And the reality is showing that man, if we were in the wild, could have murdered me. And that's the reality. And that was something I risked, and it was embarrassing. Dude, there's nothing more embarrassing than getting tired and getting tapped out, or in boxing, just getting beat. I am not even a big public figure. Okay. You look at people like, what was his name that went into the UFC, CM Punk. He caught a lot of flack for what he did. People made fun of him. He became a meme. He was a WWF star who went into MMA. The UFC, went straight to the top and did basically an exhibition in the UFC. He got beat in the first minute, but that was a big risk, and you're going to deal with a lot of public backlash. You take 2. I look at whenever anybody is willing to risk any kind of embarrassment and take a chance, you got to respect it no matter what. And I look at what Jake Paul is doing, and I respect it when someone's built a business and is just willing to, risk anything to get into a cage and to just try something, try to be innovative. I don't know, anything about him personally. I know he does a lot for the camera, and, some stuff might come across disrespectful, but I don't see it. I don't really care about any of that. You're trying to sell a fight. People do shit. I don't know how he is as a person. I know his brother is probably a little weird. You start seeing some of the things he says and you just go, all right. But I think this fight, obviously, it's a weird match. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is how old? It's more of like, you can throw the offer out. If you were Jake Paul, why wouldn't you want to try to fight Mike Tyson? Is there another name in fighting history that has more of a name than Mike Tyson? What that name means, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a ferocious fighter. He might be the most feared fighter there has ever been on an iconic level. The name Mike Tyson. There might be bigger names and more, legendary names like Muhammad Ali. But when you talk about a name that was more feared in that era of boxing, Mike Tyson, it was insane what he did. Now, prediction on this fight. But all that to be said, I don't blame Jake Paul for trying to. Why wouldn't you? You're doing exhibition fights. Listen, Jake Paul could have gone the route of, I'm just going to be a quiet amateur boxer. I'm going to get my experience up. I'm going to do these things. Why would he? He has built something else completely. Why wouldn't you try to jump ahead? Why wouldn't you try to only do the biggest fights? Why would you take that damage? Boxing has always been a thing. This quote by Mayweather, you go in there, you try to take the least amount of damage and make the most amount of damage while making the most amount of money. So literally the blueprint of what a prize fighter should be. Okay. Fighting for honor and all this shit. Yeah, that's cool. That's great. But you also have to think long-term, your brain and everything like that. It's a long road. Okay. It's a long road to the top if you want to rock and roll. Okay. But how old is Mike Tyson? Mikey T, dude. 57 years old. That is insane that Mike Tyson still moves the way that he moves. It is mind-boggling, Mike Tyson. I'm rooting for him. Now, here's the reality of the situation. We won't know until the fight starts what Mike Tyson looks like. We won't know. You can look at the mitts and these little highlights and you go, oh yeah, if he lands, that's going to be amazing. I would have to see his current sparring videos to really be like, okay, he has a chance of winning. Because I'll be real with you. It does not look good. If I had to make a prediction on Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, I think Jake Paul wins. Objectively, that's not what I want to happen. I would love for Mike Tyson to win. But the truth is, Father Time is undefeated, okay? And you can say what you want. Jake Paul is a good boxer, okay? He's a good boxer. For his amount of experience, he's a good boxer, okay? I don't think he gets in there with like Canelo Alvarez or someone like that and does well. What was Fury's brother's name? Tommy Fury outboxed him when they fought. Okay, Tommy Fury is a decent fighter, but kind of a standard boxer for his age and his weight. We saw what happened when Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury. But when you start talking about Jake Paul in these exhibition fights, there's always a caveat. You know, we had Tyron Woodley. Ben Askren was like, that was ridiculous. Ben Askren that looked so slow in that boxing match. If Ben Askren came out of retirement and wanted to box me for money, I would box Ben Askren. Just not very good at boxing. I think that in this fight, just based on how fast Jake Paul is, who knows his age, his chin, what he's taking. I don't think they're drug testing these. I think Jake Paul is going to sadly beat Mike Tyson. It's only a win situation for Mike Tyson. Okay. Because Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson. Yeah. He beats everybody. All people are going to say is you beat a 56-year-old man. If he loses to Mike Tyson, everybody's going to be like, you just got beat by a 56-year-old man. Okay. Mike Tyson loses. No, I don't think anybody is going to talk shit to Mike Tyson other than he should have stayed retired. I will say this though. Mike Tyson looked great against Roy Jones, but Roy Jones is also naturally a smaller fighter. He's also older. Roy Jones looked like he didn't train as much. But Mike Tyson's taking this serious and he looks great for his age. It is phenomenal. You can't, I'll say this, you can't discredit the level of wisdom and knowledge and skill that Mike Tyson has in his older age. What he knows about fighting, the angles, the explosiveness, footwork, getting in the pocket, the torque he has, I think even at this age, if he hits him, if he can land perfectly, he could knock out Jake Paul. But it's just getting on the inside. And if he has that explosiveness, there's something about explosiveness and timing that just declines with age. And we're not talking about age like, he's 40 years old. He's at the tail end of his career. We're talking about 56. We're talking about 56. We're talking about practice coach. We're talking about 56. So in that capacity, I think it's just going to be a tough fight. But I'll be rooting for Mike Tyson. Okay. You got to root for Mike Tyson. Legendary. Okay. But ladies and gentlemen, we've talked your ear off long enough on this episode. I want to thank everybody who's came out to the recent shows. Everybody listened to the podcast. Yeah, we're figuring shit out. It's a weird transition time. I'm transitioning. Surprise. And yeah, we're going to always be evolving and listening to feedback. But ladies and gentlemen, no matter what happens, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and remember, no matter what, I still love you.